Hello and welcome. This is Matt, and this is Moonlit Reflections number 4. It's been a while. I wanted to make this to kind of set a fresh start in a way. The other ones I made, don't get me wrong, very happy that people have liked them or people have found them useful, but I'm not happy with them only because I feel like I've covered too deep of topics without being able to give them the proper research required or do what I felt did the topics right. Um, and so that's where I've kind of got this idea. If I'm going to jumpstart this, but I'm going to give a different take. I'm not going to treat this as like, oh, you're going to listen to this and you're going to understand a topic within me just rambling for 15 to 30 minutes. What I want to do is I want to just kind of talk about what's on my mind. And if I happen to talk about a topic a bit in depth, I would hope that I would go and express it after doing a bit more research or finding some sources or, put something a bit more together for it, right? Because I feel like other things I've talked about haven't done enough justice. And so this is kind of going to be a way to relax and just get some things off my chest, I think is the best way to approach it. And I would expect similar time limits, 10 to 30 minutes, maybe just me kind of talking about what's going on, more of a vlog kind of thing, maybe just have some edited gameplay in the background for all of the ADHD-ridden children, whatever it might be. But I do think that there's quite a lot that I'd like to talk about, and people have found these useful in the past, so I figure it could be a nice little form of therapy almost for me to really get some things together, talk about my thought processes, maybe spur some discussion or get other people thinking about things in a different way, or maybe get people talking to me about some things that I said and get them thinking about a different way. All that being said, I'm not going to put this to a schedule. I'm not going to do anything like that because I honestly just don't think I'm in a position right now where I will be able to hold up to that. And I'm tired of saying like that I will do things and they just don't happen because I just have other things that I need to be doing that are priorities, obviously. But with all that out of the way, bit of an update on where this is going to go, what you can expect in the future. I want to talk about a movie I saw last night. Last night, I watched Scarface. I'd never watched it before. Came out, 1983. Really good movie if you haven't seen it. It's a bit of a long one. It's almost 3 hours. But I had never seen it before. And it really got me thinking about kind of where I've not only failed with League in the past, but where I see a lot of people kind of stumble, which I think is perfectly valid, and I think it's actually a very hard thing to avoid. And what it is it's the idea of what do you do when you hit the top? Granted, hitting the top, there's a definitive thing of like, oh yeah, this is the top, right? It's maybe MVP at Worlds is the top as far as league terms go, or maybe you're thinking solo queue and it's like rank 1 is the top, right? But I think each person has an individual definition of what the top or what they believed the most of their capabilities went, right? For some people that might be silver, for some people that might be hitting platinum or emerald or diamond or masters for the first time, And I think that this movie was kind of pretty interesting when I kind of sat back afterwards, slept on it. I'm like, wow, yeah, that's actually somewhat relatable. I'm going to spoil the movie. I don't care about spoiling the movie now. You've had your warning. This movie came out, 50 years ago, 40 years ago? Um, I think it's interesting though because what you do is you follow. Well, what was his name? Al Pacino, right? Al Pacino. Yeah, you follow Al Pacino's character, Tony Montana, who is a Cuban immigrant refugee, somewhere along there, right? And you follow his story of immigrating to the United States and rising up in his life in like the mob, right? And you follow him and these different things that he has to do, which are pretty horrible things, and his reactions to these things to make it to the top. And then by the end, you've got his fall from the top, which I think is pretty interesting. And I think that a pretty similar thing is actually what a lot of people go through when they play League. And I think it's going to sound ridiculous, but the way that I looked at it is it's like you kind of start from the bottom, right? In League, everyone starts from pretty low, right? It's very rare that someone's going to start from diamond. A lot of people are going to start from silver or gold or even lower, right? And as you go through this journey, you learn a lot of things that are kind of counterintuitive that you would think are like bad things. You learn to like let your teammates die, for example. You learn to not compensate for plays. You learn to make sacrifices for things, right? And I think with all of that, it's like you go through this journey. And as you do all these horrible things, eventually, once you've done all the horrible things, you learn how to do them consistently, I guess, which is kind of a horrible one to one as I think about it, but I'm still going to go with it. You get to the top, and the way that you climb to the top isn't the same way that you hold the top. And I think in League, you see this a lot. You'll see a lot of people hit their peak rank of Emerald, for example, right? They're so happy. Oh my god, I've hit Emerald. It's amazing. And then what ends up happening is you get yourself in this horrible circumstance. And it's like, well, I've hit Emerald. A lot of people end up getting complacent. A lot of people don't understand what they need to do to take things to the next level, right? There's a lot of different things and reasons. I know that when I first hit Masters, I thought I was king of the world, right? And then what happens is I realize like I didn't actually hit the top. What I did is I just hit the bottom of a new level, and I think that that's probably something that a lot of people figure out in time when they first hit like D4 or Emerald. And I think it is really just needing to correct your perspective, right? Because in to make more horrible one to ones, right? In the movie, Tony makes it to the top. He becomes the top of his organization, right? And what it is he ends up just having a bigger target on his back. He ends up having to work with people in organizations that are even greater than his. And it's kind of like he's been opened up to a new world where he just suddenly has these new threats. He suddenly has these new people he has to work with in different ways that run different organizations, larger organizations that he didn't really actually have to do too much with before he got to that point. And the way that he gets complacent is he isn't willing to do what needs to be done at this new level that he's at to continue his growth. And he ends up getting complacent. And don't get me wrong, it's horrible. What he has to do is like kill families and stuff, right? But I'd imagine in the crime world, you get to a point where you have to, you only have to do more the higher you get, right? You have to protect yourself. But the thing that I think is important is kind of understanding that when you get to this new level, it's like, okay, I'm at this new level. Now what? You've hit gold for the first time. It's like, now what? A 1-to-1 in the movie is like, he had to be more careful with people he was washing his money with because he ended up getting caught, right? He maybe it's not complacent, but that's a new thing that people would target specifically him with washing money, whereas maybe when he was a lower level criminal, he wouldn't necessarily have to worry about that. And now maybe you've hit gold or something, or platinum or whatever rank, they would start doing this. And I'll speak as a mid lane example, probably top lane or AD carry too, but it's like, now you've hit a new area where it's like, I'm going to go for a minion and they're actually going to try to punish me for it. I'm going to go to last hit a minion and I'm going to eat a Cinder Q, or I'm going to hit a Caitlyn Q, or I'm going to suddenly want to get this minion and Darius is going to start posturing forward to be like, hey, if you try to go for this minion, I'm going to take a trade with you. And I think that all of these things considered, it seems pretty similar to me, at least. And it got me thinking about this. And it's like, when you look more at it, it's like what you have to be willing to do is suddenly far greater, right? Like in the movie, obviously, once again, horrible example, I'm going to keep making it, the 1-to-ones. He had to, so the punishment for him washing money, he was facing jail time. He didn't want to go to jail. He had to work with these other mobsters, right? And what the idea was is they had to, Tony had to go and kill someone so that the other people would be able to work through the legal system and do what they can do to protect him, right? It was kind of a trade in a way. And Tony was down for it. And they had a car rigged with explosives to kill this guy when he got into his car. But what happened was, is this guy gets in the car with his family. And Tony decided the line that he was willing to draw was, okay, I'd kill this one guy who was innocent, but I won't kill this guy's family. And so he didn't end up going through with it. And what ended up happening from there is the other people that he had worked with figured that he had backstabbed them, and then end of the movie happens, entire big shootout. Other guys are upset. They send a bunch of dudes over to deal with him, right? But I think it is kind of, as you get up on the ladder, it's kind of like the consequences for your actions, right? You're going to get punished for things that you weren't previously punished for. You're going to be caught with your money laundering or your poorly washed money or whatever it is, right? Which is you eating poke or eating a trade for a CS, and maybe you end up having to burn a flash. Maybe you just lose half your health bar. Maybe you lose a potion, whatever it is, right? But it's the new things that are going to come from that. It's like, you aren't going to hit Emerald for the first time, and then you're only going to be like, oh, well, it's the exact same thing, but I'm just going to eat more damage in lane for going for minions. It's like, no, it's not that. What's going to happen is when you eat more damage for minions, you are then going to not be able to contest the waves. You're going to lose your tempo. You're going to let your opponent be able to move to places, and then maybe the enemy jungler is going to invade and you aren't going to be able to help because you're going to be collecting a wave, but your enemy laner is going to be there, right? Once again, from a mid lane perspective. But I think that that's all pretty fair, honestly. I think that's a pretty good, like, 1-to-1, in my opinion. I would be curious if you guys agree with that. But it is kind of understanding the chain of events that happens. It's like, in the movie, the reason why he has to kill this guy and the reason why he has to kill a family is because he fucked up with his money laundering issues, right? And so that's like the equivalent of you needing to take a bad recall, or you needing to burn your potions, burn your flash, or give up tempo or whatever for your trade. And then the end result of it is that maybe you aren't willing to give something up, or maybe it's just as simple as like that was the mistake you were allowed to make. And from there, you know, this guy is going to go and mess with one of your guys, right? Your opponent's going to your lane opponent's going to go and fuck with your jungler. They're going to go and trade with your top laner. They're going to go and do whatever. They're going to have impact, and you're not going to have impact. You've just like lost agency because of your mistake, right? And I do think that as you get to the top, right, to title back to a way, I think that it's really unique how every single time you hit a new personal top for yourself, you're going to have to not only adapt to the new situations, because I think that that's kind of obvious. It's like, yeah, you're going to be playing against better players. You're going to have to do things better, but it's also recognizing the new environment that you're in, which I've personally struggled with a lot. And I do think that a lot of people do. And I think that it's something important to keep in mind. And that's kind of what I wanted to primarily talk about here. Because once again, I think that I wouldn't have fallen out of Masters when I initially hit it and taken well over a month to get back to it if I had kind of managed myself a bit better, you know? And I think that where I am now, I mean, I'm kind of making this, I'm kind of starting this up for accountability, and this is kind of where the Scarface 1-to-1 lingers away, kind of where a more personal update comes in. Apologies. I'm sitting like D1 maybe. I don't know. I just fell out of Masters like a day ago, but I got a coach, or I got a review with one of the coaches I've used for a while, AJ. Some of you guys around the Mid Lane Academy ecosystem know him, or know of him at least. And he kind of opened my eyes a while back, where it's like, a while back, a week ago, not super long, but he kind of opened my eyes to like, hey, yeah, you could keep going, doing what I was doing, right? Which I don't think was well, which I'll explain in a second. But eventually you're going to hit a peak, right? And I was finding some success, right? I was, I don't know, around 100 LP Masters, like not necessarily where I want to be, not my end goal, but I was finding success doing what I was doing. But what it was is I was just kind of playing a passive lane, right? Diana, obviously, but I was just kind of chilling, playing for 3. And we looked at some VODs together, and we're like, oh yeah, look, you have so much potential to like take over wave level 1, or to do a lot more before 3 that'll set you up for your 3 to be even better, to play for tempo, to play to get a better reset, get more gold, whatever it is, right? And it's inherently higher risk and higher reward, right? And I decided this was something that I really enjoyed doing before meeting, like, I don't know, months ago, a year ago. That's just something that I haven't really done in a while. Whether or not I stopped doing it, maybe I lost confidence in my ability to play the early game. Maybe I tried a different perspective. Maybe it was easy, it was comfortable, I took it, right? But it's like, okay, I'm going to try this new thing. And I have been kicking bricks. I've been stubbing my toes on walls with this. I have been having a horrible time. It's been so long since I've been good enough in the early game to actually get a consistent lead, to where it's like, okay, I have a lead. What the hell do I do now? Because it's like, okay, if I'm used to coming out of lane, I don't know, even down 20 CS, and it's like I just play a good mid game, and that's how I've been, maintaining Masters, getting 100, 200 LP. It's like, sure, yeah, that's great. but what if I could do better? And it's been so long since I've been able to actually get leads and maintain leads. I'm finding it actually harder to play with a lead because what's going to happen is that I am coming out of lane 4-0, 5-0, and it's like at this point, when I die, it actually matters. If I'm coming out of lane and I'm 1-1, 2-1, 1-2, like if I die, like sure, I don't want to die. I'm not saying that I want to die in these games, but it's like it doesn't actually change a whole lot, you know? Maybe, especially if I'm dying when there's no objective up, like maybe I give a bit of gold, I lose a wave, right? I don't want to do that, obviously, but it's not game losing. And then suddenly I'm in these positions where it's like, okay, 5-0, I cannot die here. Like it's just such a different mindset that I'm in. And I'm just thinking, what if I can do this? Because it's making my games really coin flippy. I'm losing a lot. Don't get me wrong. I'm playing like absolute garbage. But when I can kind of bully someone in that level 1 to 2 in lane, I'm usually leaving lane like 5 and 6-0, you know? Like very, very fed. And when I don't, it's just ooh, it's a disaster. Where we're talking we've had way too many games where we're like 1-10. That's for sure. Like it's just very hard to hold my footing. And there's obviously a middle ground where a lot of it is going to be settled. It's going to take some time for me to figure out where that is. It's primarily just matchup knowledge, right? Different matchups you could do, different things. My idea is in matchups where it's harder to get level 1, Kali, for example, harder to get a lot of pressure level 1. It's probably just worth it to chill a bit, you know? Just play for that level 3 anyways. Just kind of play, maybe get some damage, maybe try to hit some high value Qs, but don't actually like look to get push or look to get tempo. It's probably not worth it. And I'll have to do a bit more research into that, but that's my initial idea. But from there, it's like, where do I go from here? Because I'm going to be more vulnerable now in these because this is basically a personal thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to put all my fleeting thoughts that I have. A fleeting thought, for those of you that aren't really aware of the term, it's just one of those thoughts where it kind of comes to you and then leaves, right? We all have those. We can't really remember them later. I usually write them down, jot them down on notes or on my phone or whatever pretty regularly, but this is where I want to try to address those or at least put them down somewhere and maybe get perspective. And it's like outside of the game stuff, recently I feel like I haven't been doing a whole lot right. You know, like I haven't been a very good student, not only for like the game or for the Mid Lane Academy, which is the coaching program that I'm in, but it's like just haven't really been a good student for life. You know, I have been pretty. I don't even want to say complacent because I've been complacent, but I feel like I've not been doing what I need to find success in a whole lot of anything, right? And so this is where I want to document like what are my plans? What am I going to do for this success? Maybe other people have ideas. Maybe other people like my ideas and they start implementing them themselves, right? And so this is where I'm going to hold myself to it. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to close this out pretty soon here, second here. But it's I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to stop talking away from the microphone. That's the first thing I'm going to do. But I'm going to get a consistent wake up schedule on time. Just for real life, you know, it's about time I do that. I've had that. I think it's just always better. It's not about when you wake up. It's about that you do it at the same time. You know, it's something that really matters. I think there's a lot of psychology and a lot of science on habit building that it's all good for you. So I'm just going to keep it simple like that. I want to do more reading. I'm going to I definitely use my phone too much. I'm gonna stop doing that. I hope that as I read more, I'm able to talk about things a bit on here, things that interest me, things that are maybe interesting for people, get other people reading, get other people curious about books. Maybe they learn something, maybe I learn something. Who knows? Either way, I think the big thing though is that I was trying to make this little like moonlit reflections kind of thing. I feel like I wasn't making it for me before. I was making it because it's like, oh yeah, I wanna get something out in the world. I wanna make something for someone else. But it's I think this new direction is gonna be a bit more for me. Because I'm making this and I'm not thinking, wow, how are people gonna react to this? Is this good content? Are people gonna be interested in this? I'm just thinking right now, like I said what I said. I think it's all pretty neat. People are gonna think, wow, this absolute nerd is comparing a classic movie from the 80s to League of Legends. What an idiot. And I think, you know what? Whatever. Maybe it helps someone. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it gets someone to watch the movie that hasn't done it. You know, I basically spoiled the entire plot. But then again, I don't know. Gangster movies. It's also, what, 40 years old. I don't really care about spoiling the plot. I don't know. We'll see where this goes. If things goes planned, I'll be uploading this tomorrow, which will be a Sunday, and I'll hopefully have a new one in a few days, and hopefully some nice little editing on this. Nothing too special. Going to just get it out there. Maybe I do some more complex editing later, but until then, I'll see you when I see you.